This happened on the TV show Toshiden Gabacho, an old program that featured comedian Shofukute Surube. The hosts were discussing a ghost photo they had received, in which 3 women appeared to be missing body parts: arms, legs, and even a head. Of the 3 women in the photo, 2 of them had already died. Their limbs were severed when they died. The final woman, the one missing her head, was still alive. It was this woman who sent the photo into the program because she feared it was cursed and she would be next. The program invited the woman to appear so they could prove the curse wasn't real. It was a late-night live program, so the woman's mother accompanied her to the studio. However, right as they arrived, the woman was hit by a car and her head cut off. The mother, shocked and confused, picked up her daughter's still bleeding head and carried it upstairs to where the show was filming, live. People inside the studio screamed when they saw her, and for just a second, the severed head appeared on camera before they panicked, swung the camera to the roof, and then turned it off entirely. It was only a few seconds, but this footage was broadcast all over the Osaka area. Thanks to that, the program was thereafter cancelled. Hello, and welcome to Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. I'm your host, Tara A. Devlin, and on this show we'll be looking at different urban legends from Japan, how they came about, and, when possible, the truth behind them. Don't forget to join our newsletter at kowabana.net/newsletter to keep up to date with the latest Japanese horror news and get exclusive stories each week. I send out new and interesting urban legends I come across every now and then, so don't miss out. This week, we're looking at the terrifying and disturbing tale of the live severed head on Japanese TV. According to the story, this took place in the early 80s, a time before the internet was commonplace, and it was much easier to spread rumors because, after all, no one could confirm or deny them. But what really happened? Did a Japanese TV program really air a severed head on live TV that ended up with their show being cancelled? Toshiden Gabacho was a variety program that aired from October 5th, 1982 to September 24th, 1985. It ran in the 10 p.m. time slot for an hour and occasionally featured a corner where the host shared scary stories, ghost photos, and so on. And, if you believe the legend, also once aired live footage of a woman's severed head. There was a period where if you typed Shofukute Surube into a search engine in Japanese, one of the first suggestions that would show up would be severed head. Other more pertinent news has booted that term out of the list recently, but that's how popular this urban legend was, and continues to be. But is there any truth to it? Did a woman really send in a cursed photo, only to die on her way to the studio to prove it wasn't real, and then have her shocked mother carry the head on stage before a live TV audience? You don't have to dig too far to discover that this legend is just that. No such photo ever appeared on the show. No such woman was ever invited. And despite people going back through all the final episodes of the show, which was supposedly cancelled after this incident took place, nobody ever found anything even remotely resembling what happens in this story. Thinking about it rationally, The story itself already seems unlikely. How would a woman manage to carry the severed head of her daughter all the way up to a live studio broadcast from outside the building without anybody seeing or stopping her? Like most television programs in Japan, the studios are located in large skyscrapers in the city, and people need to get through a variety of receptions, elevators, and security before they can get to where they're going. It's extremely unlikely that this would ever occur, but even if we suppose that every single person was asleep that night, because it was a late night broadcast after all, and not a single person managed to capture it on tape as it aired, there is another reason we know this story to be fake. The creator of it came out and said as much. On February 18, 2001, Shofukute appeared on Saigo no Bansan and spoke publicly for the first time of the rumors. He straight out denied that anything of the sort had ever happened. How did such an outrageous story even come about? He said. I could understand if they made the story up about someone scarier than me, but it goes entirely against my character. Japanese television personalities have certain traits and characteristics they portray, much like an actor playing a role. For example, the airhead, the angry woman, the womanizer, etc. And Shofukute was a comedian. He was the funny guy. Why would people try to use him as the basis for a scary urban legend? It would be more believable if it were a personality who was known for being darker, basically. It turns out there was a good reason for it being Shofukute, however. At the same time Totsuzen Gabacho was running, Shofukute was also hosting a radio program called Nakarumi no Sekai. For some unknown reason, a listener of that show created the story and shared it. Here's where it gets a little muddy, because there are also versions of this legend that don't involve Totsuzen Gabacho at all. But instead, it was said to happen while Shofukute was hosting Nakarumi no Sekai. That version goes as follows. When Shofukute Surube was working as a DJ on radio, he received a letter from a listener. I went on holiday with 3 of my friends and had a stranger take a photo of us. A short while later, our friend sent the picture to all of us, but apparently, we were all headless in it. After that, the friend who sent me the photo and the 2 others died in accidents. I'm the only one left. I'm not brave enough to look at the photo myself. What should I do? Worried, Shofukute called the woman directly. I looked at it. I'm gonna die. The woman was in a panic. If you're that worried about it, bring the photo to me right now, Shofukute said. The listener agreed, and the program continued. However, after a long commercial break, Shofukute could be heard crying. The woman he had spoke to earlier on the phone had died on her way there. It's my fault. I did this. Shofukute's voice echoed lifelessly from the speakers. It's likely that this version of the legend was the original, and the creator of the story admitted that it was something they made up. Over time, embellishments were added, and somehow the woman without a head in the photo actually lost her head in an accident on the way over. The radio program was changed to the television program Shofukute was appearing on at the same time. And an extra grisly bit of horror was added to the end. The woman didn't just die. Her mother carried her severed head all the way up to the program, and it appeared on live TV. Admittedly, this is far more gruesome and horrifying than the radio version, which is also likely why it's the most popular version today. So no, there was never a severed head live on late night television. Just an imaginative story that took on a life of its own and grew to be a horrifying legend still talked about nearly 40 years later. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. You can help support us and get early access to both this show and Kowabana over on our Patreon at patreon.com/TaraADevlin. And if you want even more urban legends, Toshiden Volume 2 is available on Amazon right now, so don't miss out. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time for even more Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kowabana.net for new translations every week. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kowabana.net now.